Researchers make a stunning discovery after examining farmland treated only with organic fertilizers. Hashtag raw manure.
Poop.
Poopy. The poopy poops. Out of the back end of cows and chickens come this wonderful, wonderful thing. Vote for Pedro. Bring it in here. Put it on. Come on. Let me have that. We interrupt this broadcast. My wife just came in. Is this mine?
Who said that?
And we're on the YouTuber. If you're listen, guys, you got to go to YouTube to watch this because you can't see this over the radio.
Oh my gosh, that is epic.
Vote for Pedro.
Who said that?
Vote for Pedro.
Who it's to or who it's from.
That's gold.
I think somebody ordered this for me. Is it a 3? No, it's the XL. It's not for me then. I thought somebody said they were ordering me a shirt, and I was going to love it. Thanks for interrupting the broadcast.
That's okay.
But that was worth it. That was very worth it. Just got a shirt FedEx to the house. It says vote for Pedro. Right now, I believe he'd be our best candidate.
I'm still on the Vance Walsh train.
No, I don't want Walsh anywhere near the White House.
Yeah, no, true. Okay,
But-
so let's go back.
All right, so
manure.
All right, so so now that I have said what I said, let's rewind to the last 3.5 years of cackling Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the Green New Deal and all the crap they have been trying to push down our throat. Bill Gates, fake meat. We got to save the climate. We're an existential threat to humanity. Right? That's right.
Yes.
The only way to stop it is we have to curtail livestock farming in is it Norfolk? Oh, Norway? Norway. Different. Across the water. Over in Norway and Sweden, they're actually they're shutting down farms. They're making farmers get rid of their livestock, reduce their herds. Farmers are boycotting. They're blocking streets. They're protesting, which they have every right to do.
Why are they making them get rid of it?
Because they're trying to go energy efficient, Green New Deal, no carbon footprint, no carbon in the environment. Cows are killing us. The methane and ethane from the cows when they fart and when their manure hits the ground and the gas is released.
So are they banning all men from farting? Because y'all do too.
So do women.
We fluff.
You're nasty. Made you very unattractive.
Good.
But I think, never mind. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to give him any recognition. So this Kansas State University did a study on different farming practices and the effects on the environment.
Okay.
And who knew farmers have been doing it right all along.
Yeah, of course.
Now, there is such a thing as called rape, rob, and pillage farming. And that is when, that's like the Jonathan Morris definition version of it, rape, rob, and pillage farming. That is when these big commercial farms, vegetables, by the way, not cattle, go in and they just strip the land, right, over years and years and years and years of farming, and they're only growing row crops. They never put cows on them. They never put sheep or lamb or goats, or they never do any grazing. They never rotate out crops. They're just going in and planting corn and soy, soybeans, a sunflower, oats, barley, and they strip the land, and then they have this, this no-till planting thing now. It's been around for a long time where they just cut the crop down. They don't even go in and return the soil and do all that. They just plant a new crop on top of a crop, and then they cut the old crop out, and it's just continually farming. Well, when you do that over time, you leach everything out of the soil. So you have to have fertilizers brought in, and your soil is basically dead. And most of America's soil right now is dead, and it's lacking the micronutrients and the minerals we need, like the magnesium, the zinc, the calcium, the different things we need that the plants are supposed to pick up out of the soil. So that's why they say a lot of people who are just vegetarians and vegans, they're very unhealthy because they're only eating fiber. The fiber from the crop and the vegetable crop is still there, but all those micro and macronutrients that the plants are supposed to have, right? Like kale's supposed to be high in vitamin C, high in iron, high in this. But if there's no iron in the ground, right, and there's no zinc in the ground, the plant can't absorb it. So the plant's just green because it's been grown with synthetic fertilizer. So the plant has what it needs to be to produce a plant, but it doesn't have that wham bam impact of a hearty vegetable diet. Okay. And that is a way to mass produce farm products, if you will, and get kale and romaine and cabbage and celery and cauliflower and everything to the market year round as part of feeding, millions of people. All right. Now, regenerative farming, which my grandpa started great grandpa, when he came over across the water from Black Ireland, by the way, strong side of the island. Just want to throw that back out there. This knee is insane, by the way. I need a regenerative knee. I need somebody to take this knee out, beat me with it, and then put me to sleep, wake me back up in an hour. He had what they called a row crop, a truck patch, where he farmed 80 acres of vegetables. And then he had his cows over in one area and his goats and his lambs. We had rabbits. We had all kind of livestock. We had pigs. And then after he was done harvesting the vegetables, he would let the cows go through and graze off everything that was left. After they grazed what was left, the pigs would go in and eat and root it all up. And then the chickens would come in and mess around and do their thing and all that.
That's so smart.
And then he would level it, rake it,
Yeah.
use the manure, right? Use the manure that he had been stockpiling from the pasture, fertilize that, and then now he had 80 acres of pasture, and the 80 acres of the cows and the lambs and the goats were on grazing, right?
Right. And
With their natural fertilizer and pee going into the soil, he dished that out and planted his next crop there. So on 160 acres that my grandpa had, he rotated his land every year, and he had always had grazing animals and rooting animals, and he always had vegetables. And he took care of himself, and he had a great farm. So, but they're trying to get everybody to believe that cows are the problem, pigs are the problem, chickens are the problems, lambs are the problem because of the amount of carbon they release into the atmosphere. Well, Kansas State did this study, and I've always known about this, and I've talked about regenerative farming and how it works.
Yeah.
So God made solar panels for us. It's called grass.
Oh, yes.
And grass is made to grow into a blade, absorb sunlight, process it, take it down into the soil, work it, create nutrients and everything the soil needs. Cows come along and pee on it, poop on it. Also lambs and goats and horses, right? Not just cows, but they pick on cows. So they come through, and as they walk and graze, they poop and pee. And then that soaks into the soil. Well, if you can't do it on the radio, but if I showed you a picture of a cow farm versus a straight vegetable farm, it's two different soils.
Yeah.
All right. The cow farm is darker, it's richer, it's more porous, it's more like a sponge, where the vegetable farm is just like straight sandy soil straight down. So the water and the fertilizer, just everything leaches through the bottom, goes into the water table. The cattle livestock farm, regenerative, it absorbs all those nutrients and all those minerals, thus creating more pores, more spores, more openness in the ground to guess what? Hold and store carbon. Carbon, we need carbon. Don't let them fool us. We need carbon to live. Without carbon, we do not exist. If you get too much carbon, yes, you get high volumes of gases, and it can create heat. But the way farming regeneratively with cattle, and I don't want to go too far with this, my mind's kind of off, so I don't know if I'm making sense or not.
No, you are.
So a regular row crop vegetarian farm that they want you to believe is good. And those vegetables, those soy and those beet pulps and all that they're using to make fake meat with, that they're telling you is so much better than cows, are actually stripping the land of its porous properties, and it's causing all the carbon to shoot back up into the atmosphere.
It's probably doing something to the water table, too.
Yes, it's letting all the chemicals and minerals and all the other stuff leach into the soil, and that's why you have algae blooms and all the other things going on in rivers and waterways in our aquifers, because all that iron and magnesium and sulfur and all that stuff's not supposed to be in the water table. It's supposed to be in the soil, but the soil can't hold it. It's like a person on diarrhea. It just runs right through you, right?
That makes a lot of sense, yeah. And we could save money by not having to fertilize and rotating crops, and
if you
all
talk,
the ground would be
yes,
good.
and if you talk more vegetable farmers into, what's the right word? Oh my God, investing into, let's say 80 or 100 head of cattle, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then start rotating their land, we wouldn't have to make so much synthetic fertilizer, which is more chemicals. You would have your natural fertilizer that God gave us. See, God planned all this out for us.
Yeah, he did.
And then we broke it, and now we're trying to fix it on a man's time
frame.
or on a man's knowledge.
Okay.
And man's theology, when God's like, yo, dude, I hooked all this up for y'all. I put this in the wheel of perfection and emotion. Y'all broke the wheel, now you're trying to square off the edges. The wheel ain't going to roll no more.
It makes sense.
Y'all write that down.
We got 3 minutes. You can do it.
Oh, I'm going to make it. So regenerative farming, cattle farming, animal farming, chicken farming in rotation with vegetables is the number one best way to control carbon into the atmosphere, allow the earth to breathe and do what it's supposed to do. And again, there's no such thing as a existential climate crisis. It's called weather patterns. Okay? Weather patterns. The earth is round and it spins. We live on a globe.
People are going to say, though, since you're acknowledging carbon, that you're also acknowledging a carbon footprint.
You don't
which
exist
means
without carbon.
Okay.
You're-
When I think
without-
of carbon, I think of the checks my mom used to write and that little carbon paper that would transfer.
You don't exist without carbon. There's no humanity without carbon. There's no animals without carbon. There's no plant without carbon. We are all carbon. All of us. Everything on the planet is carbon, unless it's chemically made, like this plastic. There's no carbon in this plastic, but there's carbon in Heather Hippopotamus. There's carbon in Jonathan Morris. We are the carbon footprint. We're supposed to be. We're here. We're supposed to have a footprint. You know what I mean? But you can live your life as a good steward of the land and the earth God gave us, and you can allow the earth to work the way it's supposed to work, and you don't rob the earth of something to try to give it something else and then blame that because you robbed that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally does.
And that's what we're
Yes,
doing.
it
We're
is.
trying to get away from what God designed, right? And if you go back to way, 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 way long time ago, even if you don't believe in the Bible, if you go back to like hunters and gatherers, right? The whole hunter-gatherer society, that some people went out and hunted and killed and brought in. Some people just went out and gathered berries. You had stronger men, weaker men. You had women. You had all the stuff. If you go back to that and look at the portion size of the land and look at the grazing animal land versus the row crop, tree, olive oil, berry, fruit, corn, vegetable, pumpkin, fruit tree, it was like 60-40, 65-35. All right, God set this up where the majority of the land is for animals to graze on because they are what keep our planet going. And then he's like, you know what's pretty cool? Here's some fruit trees too. Here's some vegetable land. Here's some crops next to water so you can have your corn and your oats and your wheat and your barley so you can feed the animals in the winter because when the freeze comes to knock off all the stuff before the new spring, the animals still got to eat.
It just makes sense. It just makes sense.
If you go back to the biblical times, yes, people made bread, but it was unleavened bread. Okay, all the grains and the barleys and the oats were for cows and pigs and chickens. They were to feed your animals, so your animals didn't work the ground. They ate the grass. They created the cycle of life, and then you ate the animal. And then over here, next to your river or your pond or your well, you had some vegetables, some root crops, a couple fig trees.
Keep it simple. It works.
Keep it simple. When we get back. And
We can leave
will
it
be-
at that. We can leave it at that. We'll surprise you when we get
We'll be back. I got something else going on. These commercial chicken farmers. We'll be back.